you either identify with the thought, you either identify with the ego, or you don't. Them thoughts are going to appear anyway. Them thoughts are going to happen anyway. You get a choice whether you're going to identify with every thought or you're going to identify with some thoughts or you're not. If you identify with the thought, you connect the dots. There's a link. You connect the link between thought and you being a person, you being a body and a mind who believes them thoughts. You identify as the body and mind identifies with the thought. The ego, the thought, is talking to itself. If you don't identify with it, then thoughts are going to happen anyway. The problem comes when you identify with the thought. If you don't identify with it, then thoughts are there. Then thoughts appear. But what happens is because people know no different, is the thought appears, people identify with the thought, people identify with the ego, believing that that's who they are, and believing they've no other option, believing that there's no, they don't even know that they don't have to identify with it. That by not identifying with it, your suffering ends, because you can only ever suffer because of the thoughts in your head. There is no fear, worry, anxiety, depression. It doesn't exist. That only exists because of the program, the conditioned mind. If you allow them thoughts to just be there and don't identify with it, the ego dissolves away. There is nothing there. What you come to realise is that you're talking, you're in conversation with the ego. You're in conversation with your conditioned mind. You're in conversation with something that's just appearing. Them thoughts appear. You have a choice in the moment. I'm either going to identify with it or I'm not going to identify with it. If you don't identify with it, nothing's going to happen. You're not going to lose everything in your life. Everything's going to still play out exactly as it's supposed to play out. Even more so because you're living from awareness. You're living from consciousness. You're living from the true self. Without the conditioned mind, without the story. All the conditioned mind is, all the story is, all the ego is somebody else's stories. It's what somebody else has told you. Becomes a part of your story. Becomes a part of your conditioned mind. Becomes a part of your ego. If you refuse to identify as that, you refuse to identify as the ego, as the story, as the conditioning, as what everybody's told you, you refuse to believe what everybody's told you, you refuse to conform with this world, you are in the world but not of the world. Everything can happen exactly as it's supposed to happen, but you don't get involved. The only way you can get involved is through the mind. If you're not here, if awareness doesn't connect to mind, to the ego, if you don't identify as that, I'm not the mind, I'm not the ego, because I've become fully aware that the ego is talking to itself and it will continue to talk to itself. But I don't identify with that because it's going to happen anyway. Them thoughts, the ego is going to happen. So you've no reason to identify with it. All the ego is just conditioning. It's just a program. It's just a program playing in the mind. Once you come to that awareness, then it dissolves away. But you can only come to that awareness by discovering it for yourself. It's okay somebody saying that you're not the mind, you're not the ego, that them thoughts are just gibbering away to the self. And the only way that can ever affect you is if you identify with the thoughts, and that you're pure awareness, you're not the ego, they can't coexist. Fear, the ego, love cannot coexist. If your love and your energy is high, the ego and fear dissolves away. That's why it's always important to have high energy, to be living from love. Because the people that are living from the ego, the people that are living from low energy, just get dissipated into nothingness. They can't coexist in the same space. Positivity, joy, happiness, love from awareness. Pure awareness that is loving. You can't be living from thought and living from awareness at the same time. They don't coexist. You can't be living from the mind activity and consciousness at the same time. They don't coexist. You can't be living from fear and love at the same time. They don't coexist. But it's okay people saying that to you. It's important that you come to that realization yourself. That become aware that you're not that. Become aware that the ego, the mind, is in conversation with itself. And there's nobody there to listen to it. It can only be a problem when you identify with the thought. Sit in meditation. Sit. I don't even like saying meditation. Just sit in silence. Turn everything off and let the mind do what it's going to do. And what you'll realise is the mind is continually doing what it wants to do throughout the day, no matter what situation you're in. But that's just conditioning. That's the program playing out in the mind. Don't identify with it, and life will unfold exactly as it's supposed to unfold. With you identifying with every thought that comes up. So sit, be silent, watch the thoughts appear, and ask yourself, who's experiencing them thoughts? Who's experiencing them thoughts repeatedly? Be relentless in the seeking. Be relentless in the asking. Who's experiencing them thoughts? Be empty. Who's experiencing them thoughts? There's nobody there to experience the thought. So therefore, the thoughts are happening anyway, but the problem is that you identify with the thought. There's nobody there to experience the thought. If them thoughts are just happening and you don't identify with them, them thoughts are just happening anyway. But there's nobody there to experience them thoughts. Empty. Be empty. Who's there to experience the thought? Empty. Them thoughts are happening. Thought after thought. Be empty. Who's experiencing the thought? Nobody. There's nobody there to experience the thought. So what happens is you have the thought. There's nobody there to experience the thought. The problem is you think there's somebody there to experience the thought. So you, as the body and mind, as the personhood, so then you identify with the thought. But all along there's been nobody there. There'll be never anybody there. The problem is the identification with personhood. The identification with body and mind. The identification with the thought. Don't identify with it. The ego dissolves away. The conditioned mind dissolves away. The program dissolves away. And every moment is alive and true. In every moment there is love. In every moment is the witnesser. In every moment is awareness. In every moment is pure consciousness. In every moment there is joy. In every moment there's happiness. When you sever the attachment to the ego, be relentless in every moment of not identifying with the false self, with not identifying with the program that's going to happen anyway, with the conditioned mind. Be relentless in finding that place, and your suffering ends, because you can only ever suffer because of the thoughts in your head. You can only ever suffer because of the program. You can only ever suffer because of the conditioned mind. And if you don't identify as the ego, the conditioned mind, and you identify as awareness, they can't coexist. And your identification is shifted into pure awareness that is loving. Then all the positive things start to happen in your life because you're more open. You're living from the heart. You're not living from something that isn't real. It's a program that is going to happen anyway. You stopped identifying with the program, a program that is going to happen anyway. The problem is you identify. Stop identifying and watch how everything starts to open up. Hope everyone has a fantastic day. Namaste.